Doom, 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 doom. What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NFL Talk with Jay. It's Wednesday, trying to get ahead of the line moves, right? I always say, guys, if you're betting NFL, if you're serious about it, or college football, you have to get on some of these lines before Saturday or Sunday, guys. That's when all of the Joes, all the public bettors are going to bed at the last minute, guys. So we always trying to get some cash on this channel. It's us against the bookies, trying to take them to Smack City. What's up with you, Merril? Everything cool with you?
Yeah, as I say, first of all, we're about a month away still from the NBA, so don't get too excited. We don't want people turning it off thinking this is a football, NBA video. But look, I think we got to get the rights to the old school Monday night theme from like the 70s and 80s. That's still one of the best sports themes ever. The dun 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 dun. God, I get pumped up just thinking about that.
Yeah, they copyrighted, man. I'd love to use it, but they copyrighted. But we'll get it back going. But the money is what gets me going here, Steve. But if you guys know, we partner with Wage Talk. We have all type of great cappers coming on with us, sharing their plays, sharing their angles as well, and also special promo codes over there for the site as well, guys. So we talk NFL, we talk some college football, but there's a ton of other plays out there. They had they do MLB. There's people on the site have NASCAR, man, all type of shit, soccer. So go check them out. And as always, the Wage Talk eye screen, man, I'm staring at it right now. I always say, man, trying to get the best of the line, right? So make sure you're shopping those lines, and let's get some cash, Steve. What do you say, my guy? Let's talk about this first. Let's talk about this first game here. Thursday night football. We got the Steelers here going to Cleveland Browns, right? Both teams coming off bad losses. The Browns coming off a horrific beat in that one, man. On that last play there versus the Jets. So, but you know how it is, Steve. They kind of thought the game was over there, but. What do you think about this Thursday night game? Total sitting at 39 as well.
Well, in Cleveland's defense, the game was over because it had been 2,229 games since a team blew a 13-point lead in under 2 minutes. And the last time it happened was the Cleveland Browns in 2001. So they've been on the bookend of both of those in between 2,000 games. It's funny. We talked NBA here a moment ago. It's like always tricky for me, Jay. When a team has like a 20-point NBA lead and they blow it, do you give them credit for having the big lead? Do you give the other team credit for coming back? It's always tricky for me, and it's the same thing in the NFL. And we had really a historic Sunday. We had 3 teams overcome 13-point deficits in the fourth quarter. It's the first time in a couple decades, I believe, that had happened as well last Sunday, and this was one of them, of course. With that said, I think Cleveland bounces back here. We saw some sharp money coming on them earlier on Monday. This line went from 3.5 up to 5. A little bit of a buyback then on Tuesday night down to 4.5. Look, it's very difficult for the road teams in these Thursday night games. We talk about it every week because both teams have 3 days of prep, but the road team loses a day due to travel. And I know this is a short trip, but it's still a travel game. And I think it's really bad for Pittsburgh because their offense has been awful. They were terrible last week. And do you really expect them to fix those problems on just 2.5 days of prep?
Yeah, that's a good point there. I'll be honest. I would say that so this line opened up at 3 has been bet up to 4.5, basically 4.5 across the board. Like Steve said, total opened up at 40.5, down to 38, basically across the board. A few 38.5s and 39s, but basically 38. And like I said, man, usually I'd like to take the home team because they didn't have to travel on these short weeks. I don't know what to do with this, right? Because the Browns, they were up in that game, but they're going to come in pissed off. We saw they had a defensive, they had like a players only meeting about like what the hell happened in the last couple of minutes there. So, and they didn't have to travel anywhere as well. So home, they didn't have to travel a short week. They have the defense. They won't have Jadeveon Clowney, and we saw that Garrett didn't practice yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see if he can at least get a practice in before Friday. Obviously, if you don't practice on that Thursday or Friday, not Thursday or Friday, if you don't practice today, the game is tomorrow. Obviously, it won't be looking good for Myles Garrett out there. You want to see him practice the day before the game. So some injury concerns for that Browns defense as well. Just got to shore up this secondary. Can't be getting beat like that on the last play of the game, especially when the game is on the line. So this is a tough game for me. I do think the Steelers, I don't think Trubisky is that bad. Patriots defense made them look pretty bad, but this will be which defense plays better, right, Steve? What do you think and lean to the under here? Both two really good defenses, kind of sort of a couple of anemic offenses here.
Yeah, as I was saying, I talked about which way do you go, a team that blows the lead or the team that comes back, who do you give credit to? We have another one of those age-long discussions here. We have a terrible passing attack in Pittsburgh against a terrible and beat-up pass defense in Cleveland, like you said. So there again, which one wears out. I'll say this, Jay, if Trubisky and Steelers offense can't move the ball this week through the air, all bets are off because Cleveland has really struggled. And keep in mind, Cleveland has played 2 bad passing attacks in Carolina and the Jets, and they've still given over 7 yards per pass. So this will be a telltale game for me in that regard.
Gotcha. And just the inside info just come out from the beat writers that Garrett is expected to play tomorrow, guys. It literally just came in on the phone right now. It's a tough one for me. Usually with Thursday night, either I take the home team or I stay off. I could see the Steelers lose it, like staying in this game and like losing by 3 points.
3, yeah.
Still lose, but loses by 3 or 4 where they get to cover the spread. I'm not laying points with the Browns when they actually have a quarterback back there. I mean, Brissett's not terrible, but he did kind of injure his ankle in the fourth quarter of the game as well. This is a tough one for me. I don't think there's many like the Browns. Then they were smacking up the Jets, but you lose to the Jets, man. It just shows you it could bounce. It's a tough game for me. Ugly game, probably one of the uglier games of the week. I'd like to say I lean Pittsburgh, especially at the 4.5. I think they could lose it by 3 or 4 points, just keeping it close, right? It definitely will be a tight game, divisional game there. Let's go over here to the streets of Miami here now, Steve. We got the Dolphins getting 4.5 points versus the Bills. I probably won't bet against the Bills all year, Steve. I mean, maybe if there's a really good situation, they're laying them there 14 or something in the game they don't care about. But right now, they just look out for blood. They're out to smack everybody up. Steve, what do you think? This division rival? I think they beat the Dolphins 6 straight times. Did they make it 7?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really hard to play against Buffalo. They're the best team in the NFL. You know, we saw them beat the Super Bowl champs as a road favorite back in week 1. It's a 7-7 game, and then boom, it's a 41-7 game on Monday night. And this is an explosive offense. But what makes them so good, Jay, and the best team in the league, is that their defense has been lights out also. You know, they've given up just 17 total points against 2 playoff caliber teams, at least from the past few seasons, in the Rams and Titans. Dolphins explosive offensively. Here we go again. Another one of those big comebacks. They were down 28-7 to the Ravens at halftime last week. This is another one of those teams that had a monster comeback. And they can do it offensively. 461 passing yards last week. So it'll be a test for the Buffalo defense. My concern here for Buffalo is, once again, that heat and humidity. I call it the Joe Ranieri factor down there in Miami. He pointed this out to me a few weeks ago. The opposing bench faces the sun. And these 1 p.m. Eastern September games, they just bake them all day long. And we saw New England struggle back in week 1, 20-7 loss in Miami, 3 turnovers. So I think the scheduling spot's a little dangerous, and especially since Buffalo's on a short week. Monday night home game, now Sunday road game. They've got Baltimore on deck the following week, so it doesn't get easy for this Bills team. They're going to earn being the best team in football, and they're going to have a target on their back every week. Even though they're not the Super Bowl champs, I think everyone realizes they're the team to beat. And last thing I'll say about this, the line was 4. The bettable line was 4.5. After Monday night, now it's 5.5. So it just shows that you're going to be paying a premium to play the Bills every week.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I had this one. We talked about this one earlier on Monday night, so I forgot to change that line. It's definitely up to 6 now, guys. Sorry about that. You got to lay 6 with the Bills now.
Yeah, wow. You're right. There's actually some 6.5s out there. I did a show late last night. It was 5.5. I hadn't looked till just now. Now it's 6.5.
I see
it's crazy.
98% of the money. I'm seeing on the Wage Talk odds screen. I mean, it doesn't matter that it doesn't mean that it said all books, but 77% of tickets on Buffalo, 98% of the money there. So still some sharper money coming in on the Bills there. It's tough though. I'm not betting against the Bills, guys. The best team in football, unless they have some major injury or something like to Josh Allen or one of these defensive, because the secondary is pretty stout as well. Man, this team is. They're balanced, man. I feel like they're the most balanced team in the NFL. I'm not betting against them. It's simple. I don't like the situation. I don't want to take them in Miami. We know that the Heat's going to be steaming there, but this is a divisional game. Both teams are 2-0, right? So if the Bills, like we trying to take everybody to Smack City, send a message to everybody, they're probably most likely gonna win this game. I don't see them losing to Miami. And the Dolphins got lucky as well to win that game, probably coming in off an emotional high. And the Bills are just out for blood, literally. And they know this is a divisional game. If you got your sights on the Super Bowl, you want to win these type of games, man. So personally, I'm not betting against the Bills, guys. It's simple. Let's get over here to the streets of the New York Jets here, Steve. So this is a public play. I heard a bookmaker say the other day that they don't mind people winning in September, and I'm glad because I believe that they're going to get smacked on this one. Now, it may not everybody be on the Bengals here, Steve, because they're 0-2 straight up and against the spread, right? So everybody, all the public, they tried to hop on them first 2 weeks. They got smashed. This is the circle the wagon spot. If you ask me, guys in the chat, this is my first ever NFL trifecta spot. I'm on this shit. I took the Bengals first quarter minus a half at plus 104. I took the Bengals first half minus the 3. Bengals full game minus the 4.5 as well. I like halftime, full time as well, meaning they got to be up, have the lead at the end of the halftime and win the game basically. And I also took Bengals first half team total over 12.5, guys. So there's 4 plays on one game. Let's fucking go 4-0 one time for the one time. I see a huge bounce back from the Bengals this week, Steve. And the way the two defenses they were facing at first, the Jets are light. They don't have the same defense as the Cowboys and the Steelers. Definitely don't have the same defensive front. Burrow have more time to throw. I see Higgins, Boyd, and Chase going off in this. I think the Bengals bust out in this game offensively, Steve.
Yeah, it's interesting because last week the most public side in the NFL was Cincinnati, and it wasn't necessarily a play on the Bengals. It was more of a play against the Cowboys without Prescott, right? Nobody wanted to back Dallas. So Cincinnati was actually the most consensus play last week. They lose outright. But then Cleveland, each of the first 2 weeks have made my fade the public video because they were actually a play against team. The Jets. Against Baltimore were a very unloved team. They lost, so then the public wanted nothing to do with them last week, and they were on Cleveland. So it's kind of interesting in that regard. Both these teams burnt the public last week. Let's put it that way. They lost playing the Bengals, and they lost fading the Jets. So I think for that reason, this is kind of a quiet spot now to jump in with Cincinnati. This line is probably 7, 8, 9 points a week ago, right? And now it's 5. So I agree. I think you're getting some value with Cincy. My concern, and I can make a case for everything, is that Burrow has not played great, did not play well last week, and he missed a lot of the offseason, of course, with the appendicitis, whatever it was, So that is a concern, but you're still getting the defending conference champs in a basic must-win spot against one of the worst teams in the league, who trailed, don't forget, Cleveland by 13 points with less than 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Burrow, I'd say, needs more time to throw. He's had, in theory, 2 preseason games to get away. That's why I faded him week 1. I knew that he had been practicing, but this is the 3rd week now. You started off 0-2. This is an absolute circle the wagon spot. This is a time to save your season. If you lose this game, they're going to definitely be talking about you, the biggest Super Bowl bust of ever. You see what I'm saying? So there's still time to save their season. It's not over. But if you lose this game, it's starting to be over. You can start at 0-3, but I really don't see it happening, especially versus the Jets. They're coming off an emotional high as well. I'd like to go with the team that's pissed off all week in practice versus the team that's all happy and, see what I'm saying, going out to dinner. They're happy they got to win. I want to go with the team that's pissed off and they're coming in here for blood. Also, they lost to the Jets last year as well. You could argue this in a revenge game. They're probably looking past them or looking past the Cowboys as well. Oh, it's going to be easy. They know they're coming in this one with blood. I see Chase, Higgins coming out here pissed. Quick passes. You can throw quick passes against this Jets team, man. The Bengals did it in the second half versus the Cowboys. I see they're busting out offensively here. I wouldn't talk you off Bengals team total over. Like I said, I'm on them first quarter, first half, full game, and first half team total over 12.5. I like the full game team total over as well. I think the Bengals go for at least 35 points here. I see them busting out versus this Jets team. It's 35-14 win by the Bengals here, my guys. Smack fucking city spot. Let's go over here to the streets of Carolina here, Steve. We got the Panthers getting 3 points versus the Saints. Winston did not look good. We know we got the info about this back not being 100%. Still good enough to play, but man, I don't trust this guy, man. In theory, I don't trust that team either. In theory, the Panthers are. I don't bet against 0-2 spots, Steve. It's pretty much that simple in this NFL. It's a kitchen sink type of game. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at this shit, do whatever they can to win. But I'm not taking the Panthers here.
Yeah, one thing that jumps out to me about the Panthers is last week, a misleading loss, you could say statistically at least. They moved the ball pretty well, a lot of rushing yards, 146 yards in that 3-point loss against the Giants, and held them to just 103 rushing. So if they can establish the running game here, I think they have a chance at home. And New Orleans, of course, is coming off the Atlanta game and the Tampa Bay game. And that Tampa Bay game last week was definitely a circled spot after the comeback win against Atlanta. So I could see a potential flat spot here for New Orleans. We'll see where this line settles. It did open 2.5. I see some 3s out there in most spots. If you like Carolina, I would definitely make sure you grab at least a 3 or higher.
Yeah, that's a good point there, man. Yeah, I didn't miss the Ravens game, man. We gotta talk about the Ravens game. But sorry, yeah, on this one, man. Like I say, it's Panthers or nothing for me. Winston doesn't look good, you never know when he's going to have that 3-pick game. But also, am I trying to ride with Matt Rule and Baker Mayfield? If the Panthers do lose this game, you might see Rule get fired. And when I feel like a team is close to firing a coach, it's two things can happen. Either they're going to keep playing for him, or they actually don't mind him getting fired and may even lose on purpose. So I'm not sure what's going on with Carolina. They are a little bit better than they've looked, but I worry about the Saints here. It's a lot of shit going on, man. Kamara, he's kind of game time decision, may play. They have 3 really good receivers, right? Olave, Thomas. The boys, they can ball over there. It's just, can Winston give them the ball? They're coming off a bad loss as well. They could be pissed off. It's a tough one, man. So I'm not betting that game. Let's go over here real quick, Steve. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the Patriots, my guy. I don't have it up. I'm finna have to make it real quick. Patriots and Ravens, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, first thing jumps out to you is obviously it seems very strange to see New England as a 3-point home dog against anybody. I know it's not Tom Brady anymore, but it's still Bill Belichick and company. And here again, Baltimore, as we talked about earlier with the Jets, they blew that huge lead. The Dolphins, I mean, both the Jets and Dolphins had big comebacks, but Baltimore did blow that 28-7 halftime lead to the Dolphins, who are in a very explosive offensive team. Now, if they get up big on New England, New England's not going to play that way. New England has to kind of ugly this up. They're a good defensive team still. I really liked them a lot last week. It was the first 5% best bet I've had all season at wagertalk.com. The Steelers were a very public dog. Probably the most public dog, Jay, you'll see all season was Pittsburgh last week. I even saw them as high as 80% in some eliminator contests to win outright, even though they were a home dog. And that line still went from 1 to 3. The Sharps were all over the Patriots. I was one of them. I think this is another spot where they're a little bit underrated. And as long as this stays 3 or higher, I'll take a shot with Belichick and the better defensive team as a home underdog.
Yeah, it's Ravens or nothing for me here. The Patriots are cool now. I don't think they have enough offense in this one to keep up. Now, don't get it twisted. Now, they did beat them last year, and Belichick can coach up a really good game plan versus Lamar Jackson. That's the game right here. But one thing that's been like his nemesis are these dual threat type of quarterbacks. So I feel like if he can get out the pocket, and like if Lamar Jackson rushed for 100 yards in this game, I don't think the Patriots have a chance. If the Ravens get to 28 points in this game, I don't think the Patriots have a chance. I don't see the Patriots getting past 21 points in this one. Maybe look towards a team total under. The Ravens are probably come in pissed. They lost the game as well. I mean, let's look at how good the Dolphins are. The Ravens were smacking their ass up literally before it. This don't sound like that in the NFL. When you're up, have a big lead at halftime, you kind of take your foot off the gas. And what happens, it's hard to get back into the game once you took your foot off the gas, man. You almost have to win the game twice. So I see the Ravens coming in here with a huge bounce back. They're coming off the loss. They're the pissed off team versus the Patriots, who are not necessarily the dynasty they've been of past years, guys. And we're not interested to see if Mac Jones can even push the ball down the field to these receivers. I like the Ravens here minus the 3. I think the line is actually a little bit short here. I see the Ravens winning this one by at least a touchdown, my guys. Taking them Patriots to Smack City. Let's go over here to the streets of what we got here next. We're going to the streets of Minnesota here, guys. We got the Vikings laying 6 points versus the Detroit Lions here, Steve, coming off the terrible Monday night football game. Cousins back at the house now. Maybe he's a buy-on quarterback at the house. We know to fade him on the road and definitely in prime time, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, people have asked me, what do you make of that primetime angle? And I was like, I don't put too much stock into it, but I'm starting to think twice about that because he did not play well Monday night. With that said, though, I don't think that was a good spot on Monday Night Football. That was another one of those public dogs I mentioned. And by the way, my Fade the Public video on Wager Talk TV, 6-0 last week, fading the most public sides. A lot of those were dogs. Minnesota was one of them. It's now 8-1 on the season. So I'm going to, take that with a grain of salt. They were coming off the big Packer home dog win Monday night on the road. Eagles a little bit better than people realize. So I do think it's a possible bounce back spot for Minnesota. However, Detroit's flying a little bit under the radar. Really good offensively in their first 2 games. Jared Goff playing extremely well for Detroit. They're moving the ball. They also had a big comeback against that same Eagles team. Fell a little bit short in week 1, but they put up over 30 points in each game. Let's not try to guess the side here. Let's play the over. I think Minnesota's in a bounce-back spot offensively. Cousins is as well, as you said. And Detroit's moving the ball, and I'm not sure they can stop anybody. So I like the over in this one.
Yeah, that's facts right there. Yeah, the Lions are over team, guys. The defense played a lot better last week, I must say. But in the second half, it was a little leaky. But the Lions showed something, guys. We talk about teams being up big. They were up 22-0 at the half. Now, first couple drives, they went 3 and out. First off, you can't do that. Then the Washington, the Redskins, they covered they came down and scored both drives. I was like, oh shit, man, here they go. But it shows a good team when you can put your foot on the gas again. Take your foot off the gas and put it back on there. That's what the Lions did. This team is a dead nuts over team, if you ask me. Vikings as well. They're definitely going to bounce back offensively from that. Only problem is they do have to bounce back defensively. They were trash defensively, but I see that overhitting, Steve. Some games just like both of these teams are going to score, probably get to 28 points. I like the over in that one too, my brother. Let's get over here to Indianapolis here. You got the Colts getting 6.5 versus the Chiefs. Man, this is Bengals versus Cowboys last week, Steve. This is definitely Bengals versus Cowboys. What you doing? I know this Colts going to be on the Faith and Public video, Steve. I know that for a fact. What you like here?
I love it, man. I love it. You and I think alike. That's why we're crushing it this year in the NBA. Last year in the NBA, we crushed it in the NFL. We're always taking a little bit of a contrarian view, and you're dead right. I mean, look, spoiler alert, this will probably be the most public play this week. As of it's Wednesday afternoon, I put the video out Friday, Saturday on Wager Talk TV, but I'll be shocked if the Kansas City Chiefs aren't the most public play this week in the NFL. What's interesting about this and why it is important to talk about it now on Wednesdays, this line has held steady all week since Monday at 6.5, right? So if Kansas City really is public, hold off and play the Colts at +7. I find it hard to believe you won't find a +7 at some point by this weekend, unless the Sharps keep it in line. And I actually like the Colts in this game, so maybe they're going to be with me in this one and keep it. But I think if you like Kansas City, probably grab the 6.5 now. I would recommend waiting until the weekend and find a +7. Now, the look-ahead line a week ago just shows how much of an overreaction this was 3. This was a bettable line before week 2, was -3. Now it's 6.5. And that's why fading the public works in the NFL, is because of line value. And, hey, look, it's hard to make a case for Indianapolis after that 24-0 loss. I will say this, though. They were shorthanded last week, some injuries at receiver and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville, the heat and humidity, again, like we're talking about Florida in September. They had over 500 yards of offense in that first week against Houston. So I think last week was a little bit of a deceptive game there, and I'll definitely back the Colts. Hopefully we get a +7 by this weekend.
Yeah. Man, my locals, I know that this shit gonna be +7.5 on their card. They might even bump it to 8. This is the bump up game of the week. You can get 7 now. Bookmaker does have a 6 out there, so one of the sharper books is
exactly
6. This is gonna be pros versus Joes, guys. Don't get it twisted. Sharps don't always win, but you got to understand simply this, guys. I'm not an NFL expert, but one thing I noticed, that 0-2 team coming back to the house, they're going to literally give it their all here. This is their Super Bowl right here, guys. And guess what? Don't bet against a team in their Super Bowl. It's simple. That doesn't mean that they're going to win, but it looks super easy to take the Chiefs here. They're actually coming off a divisional game as well, so they could be a little fat and sassy. This game really doesn't matter to them. Do the Chiefs kind of do that thing where it's like, oh, they've won a Super Bowl before, so they know what it takes. I feel like they're going to take certain games off, right? This is a game that just doesn't really, you know what I'm saying? It's like, Steve, why does this feel like a game where the Chiefs probably may just like take the game off? I don't know. I just feel like this more on the Colts. You got to see about Leonard, though. He's the quarterback of the defense over there. Need Leonard in there, the linebacker for the Colts. This one, I need him and Pittman in there. They're the best wide receiver, right, Steve? So it's Colts or nothing for me here. If you like the Colts, you wait. If you like the Chiefs, you probably want to bet them. You probably want to bet them right now. But personally, I hate to say it, but like I wouldn't bet the Chiefs. That's just simple. It's like it's either you take the Colts or you just stay off the game. We're just trying to help. You see what I'm saying? But you go with your gut. We could be wrong. Molecular Ninja, $10 tip, man. I appreciate you, my guy. Coming here every single day with the vibes. Let's get to some more games here. Let's go over here to the streets of Tennessee. Let's go to the streets of Tennessee here, Steve. We got the Raiders laying 2 on the road versus the Titans. I know the Titans look bad on Monday Night Football. I know in theory this is a bounce back spot. It's 0-2, circle the wagon spot. But guess what? In theory, Steve, it's a buy low on both teams. Both teams are 0-2. Raiders got to be pissed for coming in there. It's almost the same thing. They're up huge at halftime, and then you let the team come all the way back. They are kind of going cross country here, Steve, but it's Raiders or nothing for me here.
Yeah, and this line was the look-ahead line on this was Pick'em. Now it's Raiders -2. I don't have a real feel for this game, I'll be honest. I mean, these are two teams, obviously, that are struggling, like you said. They're not only 0-2 straight up, they're both 0-2 against the spread, and they both have lost outright as 5.5-point favorites in one of those games this year, including the Raiders last week. Overtime game, traveling now. It's not a great spot for the Raiders. But I don't know what to do with Tennessee either. Look, they lost 41-7 to the best team in football on Monday night, so maybe we give them a little bit of a pass. They also, we forgot to mention this, they had a 4-0 turnover deficit. Buffalo's really good, but they also had a 4-0 turnover edge, the Bills did. This will come down to turnovers. You know, the Raiders played the Chargers tough in week 1, but had a 3-0 turnover deficit. Which team is flatter in this game? You know, it's a tough one. There's a reason they're both 0-2.
Yeah, no, that's facts right there. I lean Raiders here. This is a spot that I had circled. To be honest with you, like when Raiders had a pick, I was like, I hope that the Titans look a little bit better so we can fade them. They're still coming off short rest. It's simple. I usually never say this, but I'm gonna say it this time. I just think that the Raiders are the better team. It's simple. We knew that the Titans gonna have a huge down here. Henry doesn't look right. Tannehill, it's about time to retire. So you see that they damn near benched him into the fourth quarter. Now, in theory, I'd like to buy that, but the coach, he looks like he's probably on his last leg as well. The Raiders they're going to be a huge public team, but it's almost just like the Bengals. The fact that they lost both times in their 0-2 ATS during their first weeks, and they are a team that the market is high on, this is a really good buy low spot, in my opinion, for the Raiders. I hadn't even bet it. You know what I'm saying? I hate that the Titans, they come home 0-2, but this is still Raiders or nothing for me, guys. I hope it makes sense. Heavy lean to the Raiders. I didn't bet it because Titans did look so bad, but it's just like, the Raiders are better than the Titans, guys. So that's what I'd be betting if I was taking this game. Let's go over here to the streets. We're going to the Redskins getting 6.5 points, man, versus the Eagles. Eagles look really good. So now you're going to have to play a premium with them, Steve. But the way I look at this game, if they're going to win the division, they're the best team in the division. If they're going to win it, do they send a message here? It's just that it's too many points for me to lay here on the road.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on this one too because it's not popping as a real public play right now, but I have a feeling as we get closer to the weekend, there's going to be more consensus on Philly because, you know, the Monday night result's going to trickle in. People are going to think about what they just saw. And then, as you mentioned, the Redskins, Commanders, Washington. I love, by the way, that you call them the Redskins. That was my team. I was a season ticket holder in the 80s and 90s during the heyday, and I pretty much disowned them. I had about a 1% interest left, and once they switched the name, it's at 0 now. So I could care less about that team. But this week, I'll probably be a Redskin. I'll be a Commander fan this weekend because that's the way I would play this one. And very similar to the other game. We'll see if we get a 7, right? I'm actually seeing one at Circa. +7 -115 on the Wager Talk live odds screen. 6.5s everywhere else. So here again, if you like the Eagles, I would recommend playing it now, just like the Chiefs, because more likely it hits 7 this weekend because the public will probably be fading both of these home dogs. I do not recommend doing that, though, because I like the dog here. I like the Colts. I like the Redskins as well here. I would hold off, though, and try to get a +7 or more. Carson Wentz. He's back from the funeral in England. Prince Harry, whatever the younger one's name is, the lookalike. He's back. He's ready to play quarterback. He's been playing well, and that's one of the reasons they did come back against the Lions is they're throwing the ball pretty well this year with him at the helm. I don't know if that'll continue, but at least in September he's been looking pretty good.
He did not look good in that first half.
No,
I'll tell you that
true.
right there. He did not look good. I think a lot of that him looking good in the second half was the Lions kind of taking their foot off the gas.
Good point.
Complacent. Now there is a narrative here, guys. I'll be honest. In my opinion, especially in NFL, sometimes the narrative can be bigger than the numbers. Wentz facing his old team for the first time. He didn't face him with the Colts, so he's going up against his old squad. That was part of my handicap. Well, a little bit with me taking the Lions last week. I was like, he might be looking ahead to this Eagles game. Yeah. I still see the Eagles win. Well, personally, I see them winning, but this could be a close game. Like the Eagles do win. I see them possibly pulling out a 3-point win. It's going to be a lot tougher than people think. Divisional game, excuse me, and on the road as well, and on a short week. And they're coming off a game where they looked really good, basically didn't do anything wrong. I don't like that because then you come in, you're going into practice kind of full of yourself. I like the team that's going into practice pissed off all week because they're thinking about their opponent. They're out for blood the whole week. See what I'm saying? That's how I think the Bengals are. So it's a tough one. Eagles are definitely the better team, but the situation possibly sets up for the Redskins to probably cover this game. This is a classic NFL spot where the Eagles could be up by 10 in the fourth quarter, and then the Redskins come and score a late touchdown, lose by 3, or back and forth. But maybe Eagles in the teaser. I see them win this game because you can't. The Commanders can't fuck with them, man. But it's all about, are they gonna take? Or they should take it serious, man. It's a divisional game, and I don't know about you, Steve, but I'd be betting the Eagles to win the NFC East over here. What do you, just real quick? What do you think about that? Are they the best team over there? Might be the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think I saw something. Somebody posted something the other day. They moved up to like 4th overall in the Super Bowl odds, I think, and that again shows. And that was after Monday Night Football. That shows what maybe a little bit of an overreaction. And something I forgot to mention: the bettable look-ahead line last week, at this time last week when we were doing the Week 2 show, was Eagles -3. And then after the Commanders lost, it was 4 going into Monday night. And then because the Eagles looked so good, it went to 6.5. So you're giving up over a field goal of value. Had the teams really changed that much in 1 week?
Yeah, no, that's fact. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough. I'm not that high on Washington though this year. I'll be honest.
No, I'm not either.
That high, but this is a spot where Wentz, he actually may try to turn back the clock here. But I'm not. I understand. I'm not betting Washington here though. But I understand the angle. Let's go over here to the streets of Chicago real quick. We got the Bears laying 2.5 versus the Texans. Not a ton of time need to be spent on this one, Steve. You like some of this guy? I lean Texans.
Yeah, the only thing that jumped out to me in this early in the week, at least, Jay, is that looking at the public consensus, 65-70%, I'm seeing a lot of tickets still on Chicago. And last week, I really liked Green Bay for Sunday night, had it from my clients at wagertalk.com, and that was one of those public dogs. I talked about it. We faded them last week. We went 6-0 doing it on that video. For some reason, they still like Chicago. And once again, I think it's they just don't like Houston, but Houston's a capable underdog here, and I'm not sure I'm ready to lay points with Chicago. They've been pretty weak offensively. 2 weak offensive teams, to be honest.
Yeah, the Bears was at 3, down to 2.5 here. So some big bets must be coming in on the Texans. They may be one of the worst teams in the league, but they definitely shown fight as well.
Good teaser. Good teaser.
Narrative. No, for sure. Lovie Smith coming back to Soldier Field. Some maybe nobody's thinking about, but maybe he could really want to win this game here, really have the Texans up for this one, my guys. So that's my hidden angle. I got the Texans written down. I hadn't bet it, maybe throwing in a teaser here. I definitely don't see them losing by more than a touchdown. Just don't trust the Bears offense. But Lovie Smith, he might have his guys coached up and ready for this one. He's had them coached up really well for the first couple games as well, even though they tied and lost. He's actually shown that he had them ready over there. The defense looked a lot better than it was supposed to. So, Lovie Smith going back to Chicago. Let's see what happens. He's got the Chargers going to the streets of LA here. Chargers land 7. It was at 9. There's questions about Herbert. He has basically the same rib cartilage injury as Kamara over there. So, be interested to see if they try to force it. Who's the backup over there, Steve? I'll be honest. Who's the backup? What if Herbert doesn't play?
Yeah, the concern I've got for the Chargers is obviously not knowing the quarterback situation, like you said. I mean, so do you want to lay, more than a touchdown or even up to 10 points in the situation where you don't know which quarterback's going to be there? And obviously he's one of the best in football. I mean, my guess would be if he doesn't go, we'll find out on Friday's injury report. I mean, the backup is probably going to be Chase Daniel. That's who they've got second. And other than that, they got Easton Stick, which sounds like a baseball bat. I don't even know who Easton Stick is. I'm pretty good with my quarterbacks. I'm not sure that's not a baseball typo. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be Chase Daniel if it's not Herbert. I'm not laying 7 or 10. And here's the other thing is that the Jags might be good this year. They blew that late lead against the Commanders, and then they smoked the Colts 24-0. I don't think this is an easy travel spot, and it'll be one of the only times all season that there's not more opposing fans at a Charger game because I don't think anyone from Jacksonville is traveling. It'll just be nobody in the stadium probably. It'll be an empty stadium, maybe a backup quarterback. I'm definitely not going to lay points right now until I have more information.
Yeah, the way I look at it, the Chargers could win that game. The Chargers are one of the better teams in the NFL this year, in my opinion. Being interested to see what happens with Herbert, but obviously you want to wait because if he's out, the line will plummet even more. I do think that Jacksonville will have a letdown coming off one of their first wins in a while. Well, they did beat the Colts last year as 14-point underdogs, but still, the Chargers defense alone, in my opinion, can win this game by 10 points. So that's just the way I'm looking at it. It's Chargers are nothing for me here. They're coming off a loss with extra prep time as well. Jacksonville flying cross country off of a win, probably a little fat and sassy. I know they're going to the West Coast and it's a later start. Could throw them off even more though, but I still lean Chargers there. You wait this one. You do have to wait till game time to see what the hell's going on. But definitely, if Herbert's in, I think they smashed the Jaguars. Let's go over here to the streets of whether they're a little better or not. Steve is Chargers are they're one of them top dogs over there. We got the Bucs here laying 1.5 points versus the Packers here, Steve, right? So last year, Green Bay, I don't know how I feel about them going down there in the heat, but it was a little later in the day, so it's a little bit better. But revenge spot, they lost I believe it was the first game of the season last year, right, Steve? But Packers revenge spot, going up Brady versus Rodgers. What are we doing in this one?
Well, I mean, we've definitely seen, line move for Green Bay and the under here, and definitely some injuries and stuff playing a role in that. But the look ahead last week was going to be Tampa -3. Now it's just, 1.5. So it's under that key number. Packers make a pretty good teaser, probably at 7.5 or more. And we've seen a lot of under move with the injuries and whatnot. The look ahead was 48 a week ago. Now it's down to 42, 41.5, a full touchdown lower. So if it is a lower scoring game as projected by that move, Packers up to 7.5 on the teaser makes more sense as well.
Yeah, I'd lean Packers this. I know the Bucs defense really strong. Not really impressed with their offense. A ton of they got banged up receivers. Fournette's a little banged up. They still been playing, but so it'll be interesting to see. I feel like if Julio, so Evans has already been ruled out, right? They signed was it Cole Beasley or somebody like that, right? They signed him, but be interesting to see if Jones can be able to play. I feel like the line may tick back up to 2 if Jones is announced in. But yeah, I'd be looking at Packers in this one. They obviously look terrible in week 1. They're going to look better as it goes. Now, Bucs, they don't have Arians anymore. Last year when they beat Rodgers, they still had Bruce Arians. So new coach this time. They are at the house coming off a divisional win, though, right? That was a huge win because they had been getting their ass spanked by the Saints. So I feel like that was the Bucs coming off a big win over there. Evans was suspended. I lean Packers here, guys. I want to take them. Don't like the fact they're going from Green Bay. Be interested to see how they play in Tampa, man. I guess I need to see if their last year's game was at this like the 3 o'clock hour or the early game. But I lean Packers there. I think they can get the win over the Bucs in that one. Let's go over here to the streets of Seattle here real quick, Steve. You got the Seahawks laying 2 points versus the Falcons. You like something in this shit bowl, man?
Can you imagine if you're I don't think anybody in the country would be in this bad of a TV district where you get the Texans Bears for your 1 o'clock game and then you get the Saints Seahawks for your 4 o'clock game. I think you'd just disconnect your cable at that point if that was happening. Because, yeah, this is another one of those 2 of the worst teams in the league. With that said, I mean, you can make a ugly duckling 2-team teaser here again. I mean, taking Atlanta up to 8.5 or whatever, 7.5 or more, time up with the Texans. I mean, I'm not ready to lay points with Seattle. I think they're a phony team. I liked them in week 1. I thought it was a good spot on Monday Night Football, but it was a misleading outright win. Denver moved the ball a lot better on them. And then last week, obviously, I thought it was a good spot for San Fran to bounce back. We talked about it here on the show. Trey Lance going out early makes it, people are like, well, it might have been a different game, but I think the 49ers would have smoked them either way. These are 2 bad teams.
Yeah, my guy Ronald going to be up there. Ronald, I might be up there sooner than later, my guy. Let's just put it that way. I may be coming to some games with you, Ronald. But he said he's gonna be at this game. The Falcons, just like inside info for the people that care, they didn't fly home, so they did stay on the West Coast over there. So that definitely does help. And they're coming off a loss. Well, they could have got smoked in that game. I was like, oh, down 28-3. Are the Falcons gonna do the unthinkable and this time come back from down 28-3? That would have been crazy, but. I like when teams show fight. They could have easily gave up. They showed fight, got back in their game, and came and covered the spread as well. So maybe they bring some of that momentum into this one. The Seahawks, they may not win many games all year. In theory, this is a winnable game for the Falcons. I think the line is showing that as well. In theory, this is a winnable game by the Falcons. So I like to lean the Falcons here, guys. I like to lean that way. I don't force bets on these type of games, man. Let's go over here to the streets of Arizona. We got 2 more games real quick, Steve. Cardinals getting 3.5 points versus the Rams. What do we do with the Rams team? They've looked like they've taken a huge step back from last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make a case the Cardinals are a live dog again. I liked them last week, and they squeaked it out in overtime. I also like the over. Not going to lie, that was a fortunate half-point win with the touchdown in OT to get to the over. And I'm on a 17-3 all-sports run, and there's always a little bit of luck, as you know, Jay, when you're on a 17-3 run. Things usually fall right for you, and fortunate. But I think we still get some value with the over this week. These teams put up 58 and 52 each last week, and 2 teams are capable of moving the ball. And I think the Rams have definitely regressed defensively some this year, and we've seen that giving up 27 and 31 in their first 2 games.
Yeah, no, that's face right there, man. It's a tough one for me. Kyler Murray, he can get to playing that back street, that you know what I'm saying, backyard football, but it's a tough game for me, man. I'm not really sold on the Rams. I loved them last year. They lost a ton of key pieces, starting to get older over there. Um, wouldn't be surprised to see the Cardinals bring some momentum in from this one. And in theory, this playoff revenge as well, right? Rams kicked the Cardinals out of the playoffs last year, right? Or it would, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, right? Weren't these two battling, or didn't they have to beat Arizona to get to the playoffs or something like that? It was something like that late season where they were fighting. It's something like that, regardless. Divisional team. I would like to lean to the Cardinals here. I'd lean the Cardinals plus the 3.5. I feel like this some sort of playoff revenge here, but I'm not betting the game. Last game, my guy, I want my dummy gun. New Yorker, true New Yorker. He's on the Bengals first half full game. Let's fucking go, Don. Let's cash. Last game up, Steve. Broncos getting 1.5 points versus the 49ers. It's a tough game for me, man. It's a tough one for me. Steve, what are we doing?
Yeah, by the way, the Rams did beat Arizona 34-11 in the Monday night playoff game. First round, that's the one you were thinking about. It was that Monday night football game last year. So, yeah, good call there. Some definite playoff revenge, even though it's a divisional game, also some playoff revenge as well, which is interesting. This game is interesting. I mentioned just a moment ago how I liked San Fran last week. They beat Seattle easily as expected. They got Jimmy G at quarterback. Everyone loves him now because they don't have Trey Lance, that uncertainty of a young quarterback. And that's evident in this line move. The look ahead last week, Denver was going to be a 3-point favorite. Now they're a 1.5-point home dog. And that's because not only did San Francisco look good, but it's because Denver once again struggled. As I also mentioned earlier, it was a misleading loss at Seattle. I thought they outplayed the Seahawks. And it was a very lackluster, non-covering 7-point win last week against Houston. They've only put up 16 points in each game, but they've actually played pretty well offensively. Despite the points, averaging 6.3 yards per play. They're throwing. Russell Wilson's playing well. And it's just been a coaching problem. And it is a new coaching staff, and that's a concern. But I have to expect that's going to continue to get better each and every week. And I think we get some value now with the Broncos.
Yeah, that's a good point. The way I'm looking at this game, man, is that I don't like when Lance was in there, it was an element of surprise. You see what I'm saying? They didn't know. You don't know if he's running. You don't know if he's throwing. Not a ton of tape on him. You don't really know how to guard him. Only problem I have with this, and everybody's going to be on the 49ers, and I still lean that way because, like, for some reason, I just feel like that Broncos coach, because, like, it doesn't seem like he's ready to be a head coach, and he's calling the plays as well, right, Steve? So you already got too much on your plate. Probably is just head coach. Then you got to call the plays as well. That's a ton on his plate, man. He has to get somebody else to call the plays. Guy can't even remember how many fucking timeouts he has. That's how much plate he has on his plate. I don't like the state of the Broncos right now. 49ers are happy, but this is what I don't like in this game, Steve. The Broncos defense actually might look good here because Garoppolo's not running the ball. He's not like Lance. He's basically a pocket passer. So you basically kind of just pin your ears back. You see what I'm saying? Make sure you're stopping the pass versus them. You don't have to have a spy for him. So that's just how I'm looking at it. The Broncos defense actually could look good in this game. It's a Sunday night game as well. A lot of people probably going to be chasing on the 49ers. It's a tough one for me, man. The 49ers probably definitely the better coach team, Steve. They're like, this could be a huge coaching mismatch. That's why I'm not taking the Broncos, but 49ers are nothing. Not betting it, though. I'm not betting it. I actually wouldn't be surprised the Broncos defense kind of shut down the Niners. So I'm staying off this one. Real quick, let's talk about some shirts, man. Smack City, us against the bookies. Let's get some cash shirts. Coming with a free pair of shades as well, my guys. Hit me up on the website, jmoneyismoney.com, or you can shoot me a DM as well. Now, let's get to some free picks, man, and some promo codes for my guy Steve here, man. This guy is killing it over there at Wager Talk. Steve, let him know how you've been doing over there. We got a special promo code, Steve10, over there at Wager Talk. Steve, let them know your run over there at Wager Talk, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good as an understatement. 17-3 all sports run the last 10 days, and that's baseball, college, and pro football. Look, NFL's 9-1 the last 2 Sundays and Mondays to start the season. College football cashed as well. Baseball, I think it's like a 5-1 run the past week. Don't forget about baseball, right? That's just as green when it cashes. And right now, any daily pick all the way through the week, and you get a $10 discount with Steve10. So if you want to try out a pick, you want to try to pick package or a one-day all-access, instead of $39, it's just $29, single plays, $25, get them down to $15 with Steve10. $10 discount. It's like putting a Hamilton in your pocket instantly with the $10 discount, Steve 10, and then when you win, you get a Franklin, right? That's how this works. So we upgrade with the 2 non-U.S. presidents that are on currency. It was meant to be. Steve 10, wagertalk.com.
What you liking this week for week 3, my brother? Give us a banger.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of fading the public, don't forget my Fade the Public NFL videos up every weekend at Wager Talk TV on YouTube, wagertalk.com. I mentioned that is 6-0 last week. It's 8-1 on the season, fading the public. Pretty sure the most public play this week is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, so I have no problem fading them with the Indianapolis Colts. Currently plus 6.5. I would wait until you get near the weekend because I think there'll probably be some 7s out there sooner than later. I don't see this coming back down unless the Sharps hammer the Colts, which I would agree with because I'm going to be on the Colts. I consider myself a Sharp 17-3 run. Look, Indianapolis put up 500 yards in week 1, so let's not overreact to the stinker last week. Injury, shorthanded, heat of Jacksonville. I think they play better at home this week.
No, it's fake. My guy Joey in the chat said, Ronald, how much did they pay? How much did Seattle pay you to get you to go to? Hey, that's funny shit. But the chat, I can't say, guys. I really appreciate everybody in the chat, man. This shit makes the show. I see everything that you guys are posting in the chat. Plays, props, all that stuff, man. Totals, sides, everything, man. Funny stuff, all that. I appreciate the chat. You truly make this show. Let's get some cash, guys. First ever NFL trifecta spot. Bengals, first half, minus the half, plus 104. First half, minus the first quarter, minus a half, plus 104. First half, minus 3. Bengals, full game, minus 4.5 / the minus 5. Who cares? They're winning this shit by 2+ touchdowns, in my opinion. Nothing's guaranteed, guys, but I like this huge circle of wagons kitchen sink spot for the Bengals here. I think they throw the kitchen sink. They have one of the weaker teams as well. Weaker defensive lines, ranked 30th in defensive pressures. You see what I'm saying? So give me the Bengals here. I think they'll look really good. I think their offense gets back on track. Also, I'm on first half team total over 12.5. I see them getting 14 points in their sleep in the first half there. Also lean to the full game team total over. I think the Bengals bust out offensively here, put up at least 35 points on the Jets in this one, my guys. I see them coming out pissed off, getting back on the right track. Heavy lean, honorable mention, Ravens minus the 3, guys. I think they can take these Patriots to Smack City. Lean the Texans, lean the Raiders as well, guys. But the Bengals trifecta and the first half team total over 12.5. Let's go 4-0 one time for the one time. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate your time as well. It's us against the bookies. Let's take these motherfuckers to Smack City. We out, my guys. It's cash.